All right, let's just jump right in. If you're in college right now, or maybe you just graduated, you're looking at the next, 40 years of your life building something. But what if the blueprint everyone handed you is, well, just wrong? Today, we're not going to talk about just making money. No, we're going to install a totally new operating system for how you even think about wealth.
I mean, that's a wild question, right? We're all taught the same thing. Get a good job, get a high salary, save your money, budgeting. But what if that's all just surface level stuff? The real reason you're not wealthy might have nothing to do with what's in your bank account. It's about what's going on up here in your head.
And that right there, that's the whole ball game. It's not that you're not working hard enough, it's that you're running on default programming. You're thinking like everyone else, and that's kind of like being stuck on a treadmill. So to really see what I mean, let's follow two people who are running two completely different races.
Okay, so on one side, you've got Ben the builder. On the other, Alex the architect. Now, they're both smart, both super driven, but here's the key difference. Ben is focused on working in the system. Climbing the corporate ladder, being the best employee he can be. Alex, she's focused on owning the system itself. And trust me, that one little distinction, it changes everything.
So let's really dig into this. We're going to look under the hood at their invisible operating systems. Because the real difference between Ben and Alex starts with the questions they're asking themselves every single day.
Ben's thinking is all about survival, right? It's what most of us are taught. How do I pay my bills this month? How do I not lose my job? How do I avoid any kind of risk? It's all defense. But Alex, she's playing offense. She's asking, how can I make my money work for me? And get this, how do I eventually remove myself from the equation entirely? This isn't just some motivational fluff. This is about building a completely different kind of machine.
And that different machine, well, it leads to a totally different engine for making money. This is where their paths really start to split apart, and you'll see why.
Okay, you've got to get this one word burned into your brain: asset. And forget the boring textbook definition. For our purposes, an asset is an economic engine. It's a system you build that makes money for you 24/7, whether you're sleeping, on vacation, or out there building your next asset. See, Ben sells his time, and there are only so many hours in a day. Alex builds assets, and that's a game with no ceiling.
And look, these aren't some far-off dreams for billionaires. These are real things you can start thinking about right now. Index funds, that's just you owning a tiny slice of the biggest companies in the world. An automated e-commerce store, that's a sales machine that runs itself. You write a book, you create some software, that's an asset that can pay you for years and years. Every single one of these is a little money-making machine that doesn't care if you clock in or not.
So what does this actually look like over time? Well, this chart shows you the physics of their financial paths. Ben's income is linear. It's safe, it's predictable, he gets his 3% raise every year, it goes up in a straight line. But Alex's path, it starts way slower. It looks like she's falling behind at first. But then this magical force called compounding kicks in. Her assets don't just make money. The money they make starts making more money. This is the difference we talked about. Ben works in the system. Alex owns it.
Okay, I know what you're thinking, but Alex's path sounds so risky. And that word, risk, is exactly what keeps most people stuck on Ben's path. But for Alex, risk means something completely different than what you've been taught. See, for most people, for Ben, risk just equals losing money. It's this scary thing out there that you have to avoid at all costs. But for Alex, for the wealthy, risk is simply not understanding what you're doing. The danger isn't in the investment itself, it's in your own ignorance. So the goal isn't to avoid risk, the goal is to get smarter. And this changes the game completely. Risk isn't some monster you run away from, it's just a variable in an equation. It's something you can manage, you can structure, you can engineer it. So, how do they actually do that? They make something called asymmetric bets. It's a fancy term for a simple idea. Think about investing a little bit of money in a startup. You only put in an amount you're okay with losing, right? That's your downside. It's limited. You know exactly what it is. But if that startup takes off, the upside could be 10x, 50x, 100x your money. It's about setting up these situations where your potential reward is just massively bigger than your potential loss. And once you start thinking like that, engineering risk, you realize you're playing a much bigger game. It's not just about stacking up cash anymore. It's about understanding the whole system. Ben, by working in the system, he's looking for guarantees. That guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, the predictable promotions. And yeah, that feels safe. But Alex, she knows there are no guarantees in real wealth creation. She plays probability games. She knows she doesn't have to be right all the time. She just needs to be right big when it really counts. I mean, that's literally how venture capital works. And this right here, this is the part that 99% of people never ever see. Money isn't the top of the food chain, not even close. Having control over the assets and businesses that move the money, that's way more powerful. And at the very top, understanding the rules. We're talking about laws, tax codes, incentives, the things that govern the entire game. The real game isn't about having the most money. It's about knowing who writes the rules of money. So if the end goal isn't just money, then what's all this for? What's the point of building all these systems? Well, how Ben and Alex choose to spend their money, that reveals everything. Okay, so the poor mindset is, I'm going to buy things to look rich. You know, the fancy car, the expensive watch. It's a trap. It keeps you on that treadmill. The rich mindset, Alex's mindset, is I'm going to buy time to become free. She knows her most valuable asset isn't her bank account. It's the minutes in her day. So she uses her money to buy back her time. And this isn't some abstract idea. She does it in really practical ways. She delegates tasks she's not great at by hiring help. She uses technology to automate all the boring, repetitive stuff. She invests in talented people who can run with her vision. Every single one of those moves buys back her hours so she can focus on the big picture. Because time is the one thing you spend that you can never, ever get back. And all that freed up time, it unlocks the final, most important piece of the architect's mindset. It lets you stop thinking about today and start thinking about, well, decades from now. Ben is stuck optimizing for this month's rent, this year's bonus. His world is, by necessity, short term. But Alex, because she bought back her freedom, she's playing a completely different game. She's making moves based on where her family and her systems will be in 10 years, 50 years, even for the next generation. And this quote really just nails it. Wealth is not income. It's legacy in motion. The goal isn't the paycheck, which can vanish in a heartbeat. The goal is to build something that outlives you, a system of assets and opportunities that just keeps growing. That is legacy in motion. So, we're back where we started. If you really want to change where you end up financially, you have to stop asking, how do I make more money? That's the wrong question. You have to start asking, how do I think differently about money? It's about shifting from being a piece on the board to being the person who designs the board. Because you can't hold real wealth until you become the kind of person who truly understands it. So, you've seen the two paths. You've seen Ben the builder and Alex the architect. One path is honorable, it's safe, and it's what almost everyone does. The other is about ownership, systems, and legacy. The blueprints are right here. The real question is, how are you going to think?